Alright, good afternoon everyone and good morning Nanda. Assalamualaikum. Today we are from Group 2. We would like to present our discussion about the impact of Indonesia lobster seed export. But before that, let me introduce our members. Next slide please. There are Hyacinta, Lia, Riana, Fitria, Sahrul, and Theresia. Next slide please. Alright, so here is our table of content. First is introduction, case study, analysis, and last but not least is conclusion and recommendation. Alright, let's move on to the next slide. Alright, so introduction. Next slide, please. So before we get to know more about the impacts of lobster seed export on Indonesia, I will explain why we took up this topic. Well, first I will explain the simple definition of export. So, according to Bambang Trioso and Susilo Utomo, export is a trading system with an international scale. What is being traded? The things that are traded can be in the form of goods, insurance, and services. Then, how? Export can be made by removing goods from within the country to abroad based on the applicable provision. Then, what are the benefits of exporting? The benefits of exporting are so many. One of the benefits of exporting in general is that it increases the profits from the products sold or from export of goods abroad. Therefore, if it is related to our topic, namely the export of lobster seeds, we know that exporting lobster seeds can provide a party with beneficial benefits from selling lobster seed abroad. Next slide, please. All right. The picture entitled World Lobster Production 2010 to 2017 shows that lobster production is increasing over time. This is due to the increasing level of lobster consumption. However, the blue bar shows the catch of lobster and lobster seeds directly in the ocean, which is very large compared to the orange bar, which shows lobster cultivation. This will certainly have a huge impact on the ecology. In addition, the image entitled Map of the World Lobster Spreads show the yellow color, which is an area of the sea with warm water where the environment is the perfect habitat for lobster. And the Southeast Asian region and its surroundings have a great potential in catching lobster and lobster seed in the oceans. This is because the Southeast Asia region has tropical or warm temperature. Next slide, please. Alright, and then the diagram entitled Cultural Lobster Producer Countries 2010-2016 shows that cultivated lobster producers in Indonesia, orange bar, are still far behind Vietnam, blue bars. This shows that Vietnam is superior in cultivating lobster hatcheries to adult lobster than Indonesia. And from 1999 2013, Indonesia attempts cultivation of lobster, which seeds of catches in nature is done in the traditional way and takes 8 to 10 months in cultivating lobster. However, since 2013, the cultivation of lobster switched to fishing a foraged lobster directly from nature. Then the catch is exported directly because of the high selling price of lobster seed. From the explanation above, we know that the export of lobster seed is very profitable. But what are the impacts of direct fishing for lobster seeds in nature? Therefore, in this video presentation, we will explain one case example and the impacts of the lobster seed export in Indonesia. Alright, that's all from the introduction. The next slide will be delivered by Fitria.
Okay, thank you, Sahrul. So this is our case study as well as a question regarding our topic. Does the lobster seed export really threaten Indonesia's economy? Next slide, please. Okay, so the export policy of lobster seeds or benih-bening lobster during Edi Prabowo's era was stated in the Ministerial Decree number 12, 2020. It is different from the policies made by previous minister, which is Susi Pujastuti. In the Susi era, she was banned the export of benih-benih lobster through the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries Regulation number 56 of 2016 concerning about lobster catching, which prohibits the overseas trade of lobster and lobster seeds with a size of fewer than 200 grams. So the reason why Eddie changed the policies is because the rate of smuggling of lobster seeds is very high. Instead of turning into contraband that doesn't benefit to the country, it is better if exports are open so that they are easy to control. Therefore, with this difference in policies made by Eddie, creates the pros and cons from the government and also the community, especially fishermen. Moreover, here we find news about the Corruption Eradication Commission or KPK arresting Minister of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries (MKP), which is Edi Prabowo, on Wednesday, December 26. I mean November 25th, 2020, in the early hours of the morning at Soekarno Hatta Airport. KPK Deputy Chairman Nurul Gufron stated that Edi Prabowo's arrest was related to alleged corruption in the export of lobster seeds. So, seeing the corruption case committed by Edi as the minister who legalized and also changed the policy about export of lobster seeds, make us even more convinced that changing the policies from previously made by Mrs. Susi will not be for the better. Hence, we will discuss the lobster seed export policy in more detail on the SWOT analysis slide, which will be explained by my friends. But now, next slide, please. Now, yes, here we provide a video of what policies were implemented during the Eddie era to better understand about our case study. So let's watch together. Okay, thank you. That's all from case study. Next slide will be explained by Riana.
All right. Thank you, Fitria, for this slide. I will be explaining about the analysis. So in this analysis, it will be, we can see about the different point of view about the export of lobster seeds and also the SWOT analysis. So the first one is about the discussions that the Bahatul Masel Institute for the Management of Nahdlatul Ulama (LBM) or BPNU that held an online discussion with the theme of reviewing lobster seed exports policy, which is held on Thursday, 23rd July 2020. And the speaker in the discussion is consists of PPNU administrator, practitioner, government representative, researcher, Susi Pujiastuti, the Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries for the 2014 and 2019. So in this discussion, we can see different point of from different point of view from different people, but I will just choose two people's about the pros and contra regarding the export of lobster seed. Um, the first one that I choose is Susi Pujiastuti. She was the minister of the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries in term 2014 until 2019. So in her era, she has banned on lobster seed export on the consideration that there was no technology for lobster cultivations as well as the sustainability of resources. And she also did the limitations of lobster catch is believed to be able to maintain the availability of this resource in Indonesian waters. So from this, she also stated that uh, there are a lot of things in the oceans, thousands of lobsters, not just seas. There are mothers, there are fathers. That is that's what it should be take unless the children go in order to maintain sustainability. At least there is something left in nature to continue the sustainability of these species. And then the export seeds of lobster seed is seen as only placing fishermen as laborers because the profit are small. As we know that we Indonesia has export the lobster seed to the Vietnam, and the Vietnam did sell in a higher range of money. And then during her leadership in Pujiastuti, the lobster price ranged from 30 to 60,000 Indonesian rupiahs from fishermen, but now it's only 7 to 15,000 rupiah. However, enlarged lobster in the export destinations country are sold at a much higher price that I have mentioned before. And then the meaning that the Puji Sustiastuti means that the meaning of resource sustainability is directly proportional to the welfare of across generations. So the state must protect it. Moreover, fishermen can make sustainable use of fisheries resources such as fish and shrimp. And she also stated that she believed that these shrimp and fish are renewable resources, not mining, not oil, which if taken will run out of time. We just need to watch and love the sea. God will take care of for us all. I don't have the authority, but I have a voice and a common sense. As far as I can, I will talk this. Lobster seed expert is not right. Manage resources for the greatest possible welfare for the communities. So this is the strongest statement that Pujiastuti stated from the beginning of her time until now. The next is from the Bayu Priam. Bodo. He is the lobster researcher. In the issuance of Permen KP number 12 2020 will increase the lobster populations in Indonesian water. The lobster in the International Union for Conservation of Nature or IUCN lobster lists are categorized as low risk. The trade is also not included in the appendix. He also mentioned that even though the utilization is minimal, the populations of lobster that survive to adulthood in nature is very small, around 0.01%. This means that out of 10,000 lobster born, only one can survive. And other than that, he also mentioned that the positive side of the lobster seed export will actually support the sustainability of the lobster populations. This is because in Permit number 12 2020, it is stipulated that for each purulus or unpigmented lobster taken, 2% will be returned to nature. So in this lobster cultivation, what is needed is educations for technical skills for fishermen, for example, as well as the food provisions. In that sense, it is impossible for produce 1,000 tons of lobster without taking into account their feed needs. Because of that, he also invited various parties to focus together on more productive and prolonged debates. These regulations must in that be set by you Priambodo. So from this, we can see that different point of view from Susi and Bayu. For Susi, he was against of exports, but for Bayu, it is okay to do lobster seed export, which will actually support the sustainability of the lobster populations. So next, we will see about we can see about the statement from Eddie itself, which will be explained by my friend Lia. Here, Cinta.
Okay, thank you, Riana. So, from this slide, I will explain about the statement from Edi Prabowo as Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries. So, in this two events, Edi Prabowo said that um, this lobster seed export is good for Indonesia and for community. He said in the interview with CNBC Indonesia on 13 February, uh, he said that there are still many people who livelihoods depend on income from the lobster seed trade, and this can be reduced the smuggling and illegal trade of lobster seeds. And in the next event, he said in the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries press conference on 14 November, and he said lobster seed export aims to create a sustainable lobster population and promote economic growth, also improve the fishermen welfare. So in this analysis, we want to analyze that thus, the statement is really have an impact on the fishermen and for the Indonesia. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, to analyze the statement from Edi Prabowo, we use the SWOT analysis to see how the impact of lobster seed export in the fact and in the reality. So the strength is some strength of the lobster seed export are hard to find than the weakness. In fact, the policy of seed export for the lobster seed export is detrimental to fishermen and the state, even though the profit are only in the short term. If we look at the graphic in 2020, the export value of lobster seeds will reach 8.1 million US dollar, with the export volume reaching 477.8 tons. However, the amount of the state revenue that is included in the non-tax statement revenue, or in Indonesia we can say PNBP, is only 250 rupiah per 1,000 heads. And of course, the Indonesian government just get a little profit from lobster seed export. Okay, next please. Okay, so this is the weakness. And there are several weaknesses in the statement that said by AD Prabowo regarding the lobster seed export policy. So first, fishermen are still poor and their welfare has not improved. This is because the catch of the lobster seed fishermen are usually priced cheaply by exporter. So in this case, only the exporters made a profit and the fisherman is still poor. And then the second is, if we look into account that this only benefits the export destination country of lobster seeds, which is Vietnam. As we know that Vietnam is the largest lobster exporter in the world, but we are know that the lobster seeds in Vietnam are obtained from Indonesia. So in fact, if Indonesia can cultivate lobster seeds and only export adult lobster, Indonesia will get a big profit than just selling the lobster seed. And then the third is the regulation of lobster seed export is very controversial between economic and environmental interests because it will encourage the illegal exploitation. And this policy can damage the ecosystem and break the food chain of the lobster itself. So the next slide will be presented by Alma.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Cinta, for your explanation. Now I'm going to explain the opportunity and also the threats. As you know, lobster has been known as an expensive food ingredient. So besides its delicious taste, the food is like giving some kind of prestige to people who consume lobster. It is living image of people are rich if they eat lobster. There are like numbers of people who are even willing to pay fortune to enjoy lobster dishes. However, the low number of cultivators and the high market demand of lobster have made the cultivation of lobster become a business with a very promising economic potential. Many business actors are trying to run lobster cultivation business in freshwater. Indonesia, which has a tropical climate, we have enormous prospect for the cultivation of lobster because we have some kind of warm climatic conditions that will greatly support the productivity of freshwater lobster seeds. So, lobster cultivation business opportunity can be said to be a very profitable and promising business for our country. Many people are looking for lobsters not only for household consumption but also for various culinary endeavors. Every year, the demand for lobster continues to increase along with its prices. So, we should not be shocked if the cultivation of lobster is increasingly popular within the community. So lobster cultivation business is one of the cultivation business that is quite easy to do compared to others because the treatment method is not that complicated and the cost of the food to feed the lobster is cheap and the market in Indonesia is really wide open. So, according to Gusman Muhammad Ramdan, who is the owner of Welcome in Indonesia, or export-import player of the lobster, he stated that the supply of lobster right now only fulfills about 50% of the total national demand and 4 until 5% of export demand. There are like several developed countries that often order lobster from Indonesia, like South Korea, Japan, and Singapore. Meanwhile, the national demand comes from areas like Jakarta and Bali. So the businessmen that usually sell their seeds, the hatchery sell the seed directly to enlarge their business. But there are also like small players who sell their seeds to the suppliers. When expanding the business, lobster will be sold directly to the restaurant or maybe sometimes through the collectors first. In our country, currently, the price of lobster seeds is around 2,200 rupiah per lobster, with the size 2 inch, which is 2 months old. And there are ready to be consumed lobster, which size is 100 grams. At the farmer level, it is sold around 90,000 rupiah per kilogram, and the supplier level is 125,000 rupiah per kilogram. And there are higher price at the retail, which is 150 until 2020 kilogram. KKP Cultivation Fisheries Director General Slamet Subjakto, he also mentioned that if only we have 50% of the seeds scattered in the nature, which can be cultivated, then Indonesia, we could wrap profits around 144.6 trillion rupiah per year. But it will only be realized if we can cultivate 50% of the potential of lobster seeds in Indonesian seas. As for the threat, we move to the threat. The uncontrolled catching of the lobster seeds could lead to lobster populations extinction. So, according to the Fishery Minister of Indonesia, Susi Pujiastuti, the biggest collection of seeds took place in the southern regions of Java and West Sumatra. In the past, lobster auctions at the Pangandaran Fish Market could be at least produced around 1 ton. Now only 50 kilograms, and that is already considered a lot. Why? Because the scarcity made the price increase, and the price of the per lobster, which was like back then only 500,000 to 2.5 million rupiah per kilogram, and then it increased in the following years to 4 million rupiah per kilogram to 5 million per 800 grams. So if the lobster is exported to Vietnam only in the form of seeds, the price is 139,000 per head. Therefore, when Susi Pujiastuti was the minister, she banned the lobster seeds cultivation. Also, on the other side, when the export ban of lobster took place, it could also increase the smuggling activities in Indonesia. It could cost the country trillions of numbers. In the 2014 and 2019 period, the illegal lobster seed smuggling business is estimated to have cost Indonesia trillions of losses.
Why? This happened because the price of lobster seeds per fish in the markets of Vietnam, Hong Kong, and China was exorbitant, up to around 200,000 rupiah. And then per lobster seeds, it costs around 200,000, which is the most expensive. Cost to 200,000 rupiah. And through illegal business, the smugglers reap trillions rupiah in profits. And the Indonesia not only lost in terms of non-tax national income, but also the stock of lobster resources in the nature has declined due to the uncontrolled hunting of these illegal smugglers. Therefore, it could become a threat to Indonesia. Thank you for listening. Now, next slide. For the conclusion and recommendation will be explained and told by my friend Liaroxi.
Okay, thank you, Alma. And now, guys, I will presentation about the conclusion and recommendation. About the conclusion, we conclude the arrest of Edi Prabowo, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, by the KPK reveals signs of the unfinished in the current management of fish and marine research. The alleged case is related to the criminal action of corruption. Is legalizing the export of lobster seeds list in the Ministry of Marine Affairs. Number 12 of 2020 is this government policy. That there are a number of irregularities that threaten the biodiversity of marine ecosystem. At the conclusion this time, we will not discuss the case of the arrest more deeply, but let us think further about the irregularities in the police, in the impact of the legalization of the lobster seed export. Do you know the irregularity? Who is affect welfare of fishermen or even destroying nature? Let's look at the explanation below. The first, about threatened lobster extinction. Lobster is indeed of high economic value. However, it will be threatened with extinction if exports are still legalized, especially without integrity in control and supervision. Susi Pujiastuti is former Ministry of the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisher in previous periods in a forum once expressed his anxiety about the threat of marine ecosystem. Lobster seeds are game claims that must be maintained instead of being traded. Bu Susi said. The government intention to reopen the lobster seed export under the pretext of increasing the country foreign exchange earnings has been a matter of controversy. The text of the state, which should be ensured that the lobster ecosystem is abundant, it is nurtured and keeps its species from becoming fragile, is now the opposite. Lobster stock in the sea are running low because Indonesia is not yet serious about implementing sustainable fishing patterns and enlargement of lobster. The activity of catching and exporting seed, which is massive without supervision, in the long term can cause a significant decrease in the stock of seed in nature. And the second, prone to death, even exploited. It should be noted that in the high seas, lobsters that are hatched by their parents only have a survival chance of less than 1%. Therefore, over explanation of lobster seed in nature will threaten the population. Apart from that, from an economic perspective, allowing the export of lobster seeds in tantamount to reducing the opportunities for local fishermen to develop national lobster cultivation and increasing the value lobster and their income. Just imagine lobster with a size of 400 gram to 500 gram. The price per kilogram can reach 600,000 to 800,000. Meanwhile, if the seeds are taken and exported, we only get 3,000. Is it that detrimental from an economic perspective? Maritime wealth can actually eradicate poverty in Indonesia, but if it only benefits certain parties with corrupt actions and spurs over exploitation, won't it only damage the ecosystem and harm the future of the nation? The government should protect nature and support people's capacity in a more sustainable lobster cultivation, not even exporting baby lobster abroad. And the recommendation in this case, Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries Regulation number 12 of 2020 must side with coastal communities and national interests. Especially there should be concerted steps for the government to accelerate the national lobster cultivation industry. The regulation must be in favor of coastal communities and national interests, and also emphasize the importance of understanding the principle of sustainability in its entirety. According to him, 2 points of view are the pros and cons of interpreting the principle of sustainability, but they both lack understanding of equality of dimension, namely ecological, economic, and social aspects, and asks all parties to put forward the greater national interest, that is, how to take advantage of the lobster resource economy while ensuring its sustainability, and also asks to the government to promote an inclusive economy. The export lobster seeds must be accompanied by supervision and control of catch quotas. The government must also encourage the price of seeds at the fisherman level to be affordable for cultivators. Another thing that needs to be the focus of attention is how to regulate zoning, both the zone for cultivation and capture zone. This is important to ensure more measurable use of seeds. Aquaculture is a solution to breaking the chain of illegal export. So, lobster cultivation is absolutely encouraged so that economic aspect and community welfare will be achieved and stock sustainability is maintained. Okay, guys, this is the last presentation. Thank you to the viewers who have seen and listening to this video, especially Nanda who has taught us Indonesia economic system in this fourth semester. On the other hand, because this is an issue that is currently being discussed in Indonesia, we hope to provide knowledge to you and apologize if many mistaken due to this based on our analysis. Thank you, and don't forget subscribe, like, and comment.